Welcome back, everybody, to the show. I hope you're doing well. The weeks, they just keep coming, and so we keep coming as well for all of your viewing pleasure. Thank you all so much for being here. I hope you're doing well.
Many of them came numerous times. Everybody's coming.
I just started over. Hope you're doing well. Let's just erase that. I had a good weekend. I hope you did. Wow. Wowza. Off to a good start. And today we're going to talk about the segment on Fox News that Trump does not want you watching. He was very upset that it was broadcast. You have Tucker Carlson doing one of the weirdest interviews ever, where 2 times he denies something that he's on camera saying, and then you can play the video, and it raises a huge question mark. I went over this in a breaking news segment over the weekend, which is, please, liberals, it's fine if you want to point to figures like him and say, hey, even he thinks Trump's a disaster now. But do not allow that to shift into, hey, he might be more credible than we thought. He's not. He's a terrible, terrible liar who happens to agree with us on one issue, being we shouldn't be in the Iran war. And he happens to notice that the winds are blowing in a very particular direction. We're speaking in the interest of the working class and not advocating for what he has his entire career, which was shoveling money toward the wealthy and rigging the system. And now he's saying, oh, the system's rigged. Oh, while he's saying culture war, race stoking, etc. stuff is a distraction from the real economic issues. Oh, really? Because you were the distractor up until, oh wait, you still are. You just did a podcast. Why am I just getting in that segment? We can't get to that yet, but whatever. You just did a podcast wherever you tried to frame all of our geopolitical issues as a master scheme by they to eliminate the white race. That would be an example of you using the type of racial tensions and the culture war and the fear of your audience to distract from fundamental economic issues. So we'll get into that, because some people are acting like Tucker makes any sense now. Do you understand the reason why there's that phrase, a broken clock, is because it's real. Broken. And this is like a demon-attacked clock. Okay? And still, a demon-attacked clock will be right sometimes. Maybe not even twice a day, but sometimes. All right? And then you have another pardoned January 6th, or not a pardoned January 6th, or the other, another MAGA influencer, I should put it, which is joining a lot of pardoned January 6ers in being a sex criminal. We'll look at that. And the sheriff was kind of, I don't know this guy, but he was kind of a badass in this press conference. He like put up photos. He's like, look at this. This is this influencer with Trump. And now he's been caught up in a trafficking sting. And then Donald Trump Jr. has a sleepover at Daddy's house. And we will look at that as well. But our first story is this. Trump was very upset over the weekend over a segment on Fox News that he doesn't want to be aired, okay? Which is bizarre, because you're going to see the segment and go, isn't that exactly the type of content Trump wants Fox News to be doing? I don't understand. I'll play the segment for you, and then I'll read what Trump wrote and the rage that he had over this being broadcast. But Bill Maher interviewed California Governor Gavin Newsom, and Fox News talked about it. This was what Trump was irritated by.
Now, even Democrats like Bill Maher are calling out Gavin Newsom for the state's economic failures.
The other side, what they're going to say, though, is, but have you seen the stats from California?
Good.
What?
Fourth largest economy, let's go.
Well, are they going to say good about gas prices? Are they going to say good about how high the rents are?
Yeah.
So many people live. I mean, there's a whole litany. I mean, the train, Gavin.
Okay, the train.
You got to get rid of the train.
The train.
I say this as a friend. You got to let that train go.
You know, Tommy, let's talk about that train. Recently, I was trying to figure out how to get someone in my family from East LA to West LA, because they're going to be working out there. Mm-hmm. And I said, what about the train? Because you can't drive Route 10 from East LA to West LA. It takes...
Okay, so we're not here to talk about trains, all right? That's what they showed, it looks like. Is there any other clip? Let me skip through it. Nope. This is what they played. A quick clip that's supposed to look Newsom... supposed to make supposed to make Newsom look bad. And then I'll show you more context for some of the back and forth that Maher and Newsom had.
The other side, what they're going to say, though, is, but have you seen the stats from California?
Good.
What? Well,
Fourth largest economy. Let's go.
Well, are they going to say good about gas prices? Are they going to say good about how high the rents are?
Yeah.
So many people live. I mean, there's a whole litany. I mean, the train, Gavin.
Okay, the train.
You got to get rid of the train.
The train.
I say this as a friend. You got to let that train go. You got to let the train go. It's up to $231 billion.
No, it's not. That's just nonsense. It's not. We're doing a $119 million segment. We got it back on track. It goes back 3 administrations. I inherited a mess. We put it back on track. All the environmental work is behind us. We're actually laying the track. All the legal litigation, all the land issues are all behind us. We're actually making this project work.
So we'll get into more of this interview because I do find it fascinating. And as always, Newsom's really good at rhetorically explaining his stances. And you go, okay. But then obviously there's really fundamental, even systemic issues in California. And then you can try to judge how much Newsom would be to blame for that and how much not. But then also you have to correct whenever Republicans, who often represent states that have even worse problems than California, try to use California as a punching bag and then ignoring some of the success of California or the success of the Newsom administration. So point out the failures, absolutely. Call for even more change, 100%. But we also have to keep this in the correct framework of a factual analysis. But before we get into any more clips from that interview, this is what Trump wrote. I mean, I don't even want to read it all. Look, it just goes on and on. But he said, I hate seeing Fox and other conservative outlets constantly making low-rated Bill Maher relevant as it pertains to the Republican Party and beyond. Bill Maher is a weak and ineffective person who I got to know very well during my dinner with him at the White House. He was nervous, scared, and the first words he uttered as he entered the Oval Office were, "Can I drink?" And it was very endearing, but at the same time, absolutely pathetic. He was much different from what people think, but last night I happened to watch Gavin Newsom, an admittedly low IQ person who said he can't read a speech, and then all the attacks on Newsom for being dyslexic whenever a large percentage of the country is, and then Trump is just generally attacking people's intelligence, which of course is projection because Trump is the one who has a real intelligence problem. But this ends with him saying, after a bunch of ranting, Fox should stop putting this person on. He's not representing us. You look weak, stupid, and ineffective. And I hate seeing that. Don't use Bill Maher any longer as a representative of you. What does that even mean? The clip they played was just supposed to go, oh, even liberal Bill Maher is challenging Gavin Newsom. But even that is too much for Trump because of how sensitive he is. And I will defend Bill Maher on one thing. I did get annoyed by how he urinated in his pants repeatedly over being invited to the White House. It was so, oh my gosh, Maher. And I got to go to dinner and people hated me for it. No, they didn't. Who even cared? But and Trump was actually so nice behind the scenes, and it's fascinating. And maybe this is bridging the divides of America. So that was kind of irritating. But if I walked into the Oval Office, think about how fun it would be to be Buzz in the Oval Office. So I get why he immediately asked for a drink. Think about, you either could be in the Oval Office, okay, or be in the Oval Office and drunk. One is better than the other. So I do defend him on that. Other clips from this interview. This is what Newsom posted. He said this clip triggered Donald Trump's latest Truth Social.
You talk about California, we're the envy of the world. Since I've been governor, no other developed nation has outperformed our economy. No other state has outperformed the economy of state of California.
I think people feel that
They may not feel that in every way, shape, or form, but we dominate in every key industry. We dominate in manufacturing, agriculture, hunting jobs, forestry jobs, more scientists, more Nobel laureates, more researchers, more the higher system of higher education, the finest in the world, more venture capital. You talk about the future, you're talking about California and AI and quantum, on fusion, on space. California is dominant. We also have seen the last 3 years population growth. We've got to update our talking points. We've seen a 9% decline in unsheltered homelessness. We've got to update our talking points. We've seen a 60% increase in permits for housing. We've got to update talking points. I'm very proud of the state of California.
Okay, so yes, we've heard that from Newsom, and it's kind of a crisp way for him to explain it. A lot of that sounds nice. I don't think that if people feel economic issues in California and blame it specifically on Newsom, that list of accomplishments necessarily wins them over. I think if he could speak to progress that's been made on homelessness, he made a reference to it a little deeper on that. That is really interesting, or cost of living issues. But by the way, a lot of the things that are pointed to maybe should have been dealt with better by Newsom's administration over his time being governor, but aren't like caused by, which is how Fox News tries to frame it, Newsom's governance. And one of the things is cost of living. If you just do a quick rundown in your brain of supply and demand, and then you visit Los Angeles, for example, when I lived there briefly, it was like, oh my gosh, there's so many people who want to be here. And then you realize why. It's always beautiful outside. Within the same duration of like 45 minutes, you can be on the beach, or you can be in the mountains, or you can be in the city. Or a little bit longer, you can go be in a desert. It's like so convenient, infinite number of things to do, gorgeous all the time, better social safety net than almost any state, and a ton of industry and the place where you go if you want to make it. So yeah, tons of people are wanting to live there, and that's the main contributing factor over the course of decades. Just the demand for some of these major California cities then creates a lot of unique challenges, like homelessness, like cost of living, and funding a social safety net for all of those people. Then you get to this. I'm so sick of this. If another person interviews Newsom and goes, wait, but you're saying that you don't like that Trump posts in all caps, but you post in all caps. But you're saying you don't like that Trump is divisive, but you're portraying yourself to be divisive against Trump. Huh? I'm going to puke. We all know what Newsom's doing. Maybe you disagree with it, but stop asking him like you don't get what's happening. He's pretending to act like Trump to put a mirror up to how Trump acts. Looking at his social media posts where he goes, I am the greatest governor in the history of government, and being like, why would you say that about yourself? And not realizing that he's just mimicking Trump is silly.
You know, for me, that's to me, that's the biggest reflection of this moment is how just the sewer that we're now living in because of Donald Trump. And he's allowed all of it to us to feel free to shove again. And I think, if nothing else, forget.
But many people would say that you are imitating him. Among all the people who may or may not be running, you're the one who kind of imitates his style with the trolling. You're suing Fox now, I understand. You're suing. That's
well,
right
we're going
out of
into discovery. Fox better look to settle right now or apologize for defamation. But
okay, but that sounds exactly like what he does. Suing media?
Different point. Well, then don't defame, don't lie. And, Fox is a propaganda
but that does sound
network.
like him.
Well, here's the point. I'm trying to put a mirror up to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And I think it's important with the sense of humor as well. The deviation of normalcy is off the chart. This is a guy cosplaying as the Pope, dressing up as Jesus. This guy putting his face on Mount Rushmore, doing it in all cap. None of this is normal. And you may recall when I first started doing this, the folks on Fox said, oh, this is so unbecoming of the governor of California. He should wash out his mouth with soap and water with no situational awareness that their dear leader has been doing this for years and years and years.
We're just in a different position because doing this job, we hear all of the interviews. And so I think for some people that this will have been the first time they hear this explanation. But for us, we've heard it. Yes. Why is Bill Maher still asking about that? Some people would say that you're mimicking him. That's what Newsom says he's doing. I think I've heard the guy who's doing it is saying is to mimic Trump. I don't know if he needs to do this all throughout the campaign. I find it still kind of funny when it's like, oh, the most handsome governor, blah, 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 talks the way that Trump talks about himself. But when he goes through that list of wild activity from Trump and messaging, make sure not to just stop with the Trump puts himself on Mount Rushmore and cosplays as the Pope and Jesus. Make sure you also referenced the absolutely sick things he says, like Democrats should be hanged for speaking out against him, or the punishment for those words the Democrats spoke is death, or mocking the death of Rob Reiner, Bob Mueller, etc. And actually, on that note, on the Mueller piece, Rudy Giuliani is now in the hospital. I think he said in critical but stable condition. And so Trump posted this. Of course, he likes Rudy Giuliani, so he says positive things, but he makes it about the 2020 election, which is kind of sick in and of itself. He said, our fabulous Rudy Giuliani, a true warrior and the best mayor in the history of New York City, by far has been hospitalized and is in critical condition. What a tragedy that he was treated so badly by the radical left lunatics, Democrats all, and he was right about everything. They cheated on the elections, fabricated hundreds of stories, did anything possible to destroy a nation. Now, look at Rudy. So sad. So he makes it sound like Democrats put Rudy in the hospital. Rudy has like some health issue. And of course, despite my political differences with Rudy, I hope he gets better and I hope everything's fine. And I never wish ill upon anyone. But Trump is making this about Democrats treated him so poorly that he went to the hospital. You would think that someone assaulted him. That's not what happened. And as Adam Kinzinger put it, I hope he makes it, but if he doesn't, there won't be any elected official that tweets something like this, which is when Trump wrote, Rob Mueller just died. Good. I'm glad he's dead, and he can no longer hurt innocent people. Think about the firestorm if I tweeted that, but just replaced it with Rudy Giuliani if he passed away. It would be nonstop discussion about how the entire left, all liberals, are sick and depraved individuals. And I'm not the president. But Trump is the president and said that about someone. Not to mention Rob Reiner. Not to mention him calling for the death of certain people. And they have the gall to say our political rhetoric is only being exacerbated by one side. Come on. Unbelievable. All right, once again, before we get to our next story, thank you all so much for watching today. We're live noonish Eastern time, Monday through Friday, and then our bonus show that only members get to watch is live at 6 p.m. Eastern time. We, over the weekend, went to a place in Austin where they have soft serve margaritas, right? And they were really yummy. And so I just thought that you should know that because I was a brave sort of trailblazer. And I said, what if I got a chip, like a tortilla chip, and dipped it in my soft serve margarita ice cream? A little bit of saltiness, a little bit of sweetness, a little crunchiness. And it was amazing. And Cole said, you're sick. How dare you? And Cole and I really haven't been able to resolve that tension over the chip margarita controversy. So I thought that everyone should know about that. Let's now get into this.
Have you noticed that like a huge percentage of war-crazed Republican senators are secretly gay? What is that?
Are they?
Yeah. Like, what is that?
Which are the ones that are secretly gay?
I don't know. The ones who are secret about it. I don't really know if you want people with like truly unsettled, dark personal lives.
Who are you talking about? The ones that are secret about it. Now, that had nothing to do with this segment, so I just wanted to start with that for some reason. The real substance of the segment is that Tucker has a secret, a damning, disturbing secret, which is that he is on this kick lately. He's always done it, but he's really leaning into it, of sort of, I am just so authentic and genuine, and I'm really sorry that I ever misled anyone before. I'm good now. And some people are falling for it. And I went over this in a breaking news segment over the weekend, but I think the crew needs to hear it. And all of you, if you missed that, need to hear it. And then I have an extra clip that we'll include in this version. But my thesis in the segment over the weekend was, hey, awesome. I love to see the Tuckers of the world, the Megans of the world, the Candaces of the world, the Alex Joneses of the world, and whoever else used to like Trump and is now speaking out against Trump and calling him a disaster and opposing the Iran war. Good. I'll say woohoo. But please, Lord help me, stop with this. Maybe Tucker was more rational than we thought. For some reason, a very dishonest and cynical man who has fought his entire life, decades, to divide the country, to distract us from the most crucial issues, and to lie on behalf of the worst ideologies, is not all of a sudden seeing the light. It's not happening. He has a reason. The wind is blowing in a particular direction, and he's going with it. And his honesty was laid bare in an interview with the New York Times, where he's either just not smart and doesn't have a memory that holds on to anything, or he's being dishonest. And either way, it's just weird to watch. So this is a point that I need you all to hear. Someone can be right about a thing, agree with you on that thing, and while you acknowledge that and sort of cheer it on, it is critical for you to make sure there's a caveat that they are still a messed up in the head individual, Okay? So here's a clip where Tucker gets asked about something that I thought was awesome, which was him, who does a lot of content that's more like the religious, right-wing religious vibe, using that right-wing religious lingo to say Trump isn't just bad, he might be the Antichrist. And I said, I don't really believe in that. Andy, what does that mean? Which is what Tucker's about to try to say. What does that even mean? Well, you said it, okay. But, hey, if he wants to get his right-wing audience to go, oh my gosh, maybe I shouldn't support Trump because of that, cool. And in this clip, which is not the only time in this one interview he did stuff like this, he goes, I would never say such a thing. Well, they have the video, bitch.
You've been talking on your show about whether Trump is the Antichrist.
I have not said that.
On your show, the day after Easter, you noted he did not put his hand on the Bible during his swearing-in ceremony as president. You said, and I'm quoting, maybe he didn't put his hand on the Bible because he affirmatively rejects what's inside that book. And then on a recent show, you went further saying, here's a leader who's mocking the gods of his ancestors, mocking the God of gods, and exalting himself above them. Could this be the Antichrist?
I actually did not say, could this be the Antichrist?
Here's a leader who's mocking the gods of his ancestors, mocking the God of gods, and exalting himself above them. Could this be the Antichrist?
I did not say, could this be the Antichrist? I did not say that.
Well, who knows?
I don't know where that comes from, but I know that those words never left my lips because I'm not sure I fully understand what the Antichrist is. If there's just one, I actually tried to understand it.
This was like a week ago he said that. April 15th, he said it. And by whenever this interview was filmed, probably like April 20th, because it took a second for them to edit it and get it out, he had forgotten that he said it. I don't know where that comes from. You? At Tucker Carlson? And I know those words would never leave my non-existent lips. I know that would never happen.
Could this be the Antichrist? Well, who knows?
I don't know where that comes from, but I know that those words never left my lips because I'm not sure I fully understand what the Antichrist is. If there's just one, I actually tried to understand it. I may have said some are asking that. I'm not weighing in on that because I don't understand.
Yeah, so he introduced the thought by saying Christians are starting to look to the Bible. And it was kind of a people are saying, but if you set up that other people are saying that and then don't go, and I don't believe that, then it comes off like you're saying, which fine. I thought you were down for that. He was screaming crazy stuff on Easter and was doing what you felt was antichristy things. Why would you then turn around and say, I never... Now, a little bit later after that clip, he goes, if you have me on tape saying that, I'm sorry, I must not have been what I meant. Really? Because I'm trying to think of the equivalent for me of when I've said something that was a bold claim, but I can't think of that because I'm not running around calling people the Antichrist. But hey, again, fun. Hey, call Trump. If someone's it, if that's a thing, that Trump would be a good contender. But I would remember saying that. I would remember that would be something that I would say, especially if it were 5 days before or whatever. Okay, here's another example. Well, he forgot. Fine, all right. Well, then he gets pressed about his interview with Nick Fuentes. And before I show you this clip, he does this, okay? You know how often I've sat down for interviews where they'll ask me about some random viral social media story of like some lib college student who says something that they think is crazy. And I go, yeah, I'm fine to respond to that, but I try to keep my focus on the most consequential issues, and my liberalism is informed by fundamental economic issues, matters of justice that I think on a large scale make life a lot better. My policies being quote-unquote liberal is informed by an understanding through reading history, looking at the options now of what is best for the most amount of people in our country, and just pragmatically on a consequential level, what is effective, as opposed to just me being tugged around by my feelings based on the latest TikTok video of a random person I saw. And so I'll try to pull the conversation back to there. And why is that authentic? Because I'm always bringing that up. So it doesn't mean I don't sometimes talk about, like on the Friday show, we covered some random MAGA Karen. Of course, doing a show like this, I want to talk about other things beyond just the most consequential issues, because some of them are fun to talk about. But where I think our North Star should be in picking candidates, in framing how do we know if this candidate's better than that one or if this governance was better than that one, is based on those very fundamental issues, not what the latest culture war debate is. So you would go, yeah, if he brings that up in an interview, that would be fair. There's one person who should never pretend like they authentically want to keep their eyes set on just economics as opposed to culture war divisions, and that's Tucker. Because he literally was doing stories about the sex appeal of M&Ms as a way of stoking the wokeness is going crazy. They're now coming for a hot M&Ms, and a million other stories like that to keep Fox News viewers' eye off the ball. And while the very politicians that Fox News Tucker advocated for were ripping away people's health care for in the interest of tax cuts for the rich, Tucker was keeping them focused on the fear of drag queens or trans people or whatever. So now he gets asked about interviewing Nick Fuentes, where they don't keep it focused on economics. There was a lot more discussed in that interview. What is porn? Was one of the quotes from Tucker Carlson.
Why are you gay?
And that in the interview was when Tucker was like, I don't really want to talk about Nick Fuentes. I think we should keep our focus on economics. Oh, okay. And then the interviewer was like, no, I'm asking you this to sort of get at what the future of the Republican Party might be. Clearly, Fuentes is influential. What does that mean for the future of the Republican Party? And Tucker goes, I don't think Fuentes is influential at all. Okay, so watch that, and then I'll show you a clip from just a few weeks ago.
It doesn't.
No, I'm saying that there is a person who is incredibly influential in the party.
Is he incredibly influential? Like on what basis are you saying that?
Oh my goodness, there's lots of evidence, not only in the reach of what he talks about, but also.
Can you name a single member of Congress who's acknowledged his existence or said, I did this because he told me to?
That's a groiper? I don't know that there's.
There's not a single member of Congress who would ever stand up and say, or even show evidence of being influenced by Nick Fuentes.
Okay, so Tucker goes, is he even influential? Right? Is that right? Okay, so is he? He's not even influential. I don't need to answer for why I gave him a booty massage during our interview when he's not even influential. Okay, so you go, maybe that's his stance, and that would be fine. Oh, I have another clip. Let's see.
And I got written out of conservatism, whatever that is. It's not conservative, but because I interviewed Nick Fuentes, and my point, I said right in the interview, I'm totally opposed to anti-Semitism, just so you know.
Yeah.
And he said he agreed on whether he does or not. I'm not in charge of his soul, but I am. But I interviewed Nick Fuentes because I wanted people to think about, why is this guy the most popular, much more popular than I am, influencer among young men? And it's because they've been destroyed.
What the heck is happening? He goes, who even says Nick Fuentes is influential? And then he goes, he's the most popular influencer among young men. And that was his rationale. Hey, this guy's really influential, and I want to see why. Now, if you understand anything about interviews, Tucker's able to do much more confrontational interviews. We all saw, and you hear how much I don't like Tucker, but we all saw him humiliate Ted Cruz in that interview. You remember Ted Cruz looked like a fool talking to Tucker in that confrontational interview. So he was able to do it there.
Stop attacking pedophiles.
Why? Why? That's a real quote, but obviously a misspoke, as it were. We don't have that? Okay. I thought we had that soundbite. In this one, it was more just like, wow, tell me about you, Nick. What was your life like? Oh, so the girl, she said she didn't like you, and you were like, so I guess I have to like Hitler then. I get that. In a weird way, I get that. I get that. You didn't have to do that. But whatever. I'm not even doing like the why did you talk to him? We've already had that discussion. I just mean, why is he so contradictory against himself? He acted totally shocked by the suggestion that Fuentes would have influence, and And thus we could ask questions about what that means about the future of the Republican Party. And he just not too long ago was using that exact same term to describe Fuentes. Or he goes, I know that would never leave my lips. And then it definitely did leave his lips. So bizarre. He also is getting attention in this interview for thinking Trump literally places spells on people.
Instead, there were a lot of cowardly people, as there always are, and Trump engenders cowardice in the people around him through intimidation. And there is a kind of quality that he has that's spellbinding, and I think it probably literally is a spell. And the effect is to...
The interviewer I was fine with in a lot of it, but in this part I was like, why did she not go, wait, what do you mean? Because what's going to happen is he's going to be in his next interview, and they're going to say, you said that Trump probably literally is placing spells on people. What did you mean by that? And he'll go, no, I don't think I ever said that. No, I don't remember saying that. And if you have me on tape, I must have misspoke. What does he mean, probably literally a spell? Somebody said that they got video of a spell being placed by Trump. You want to cut to this? Let's see. Podcast listeners, that was just Trump pointing really weirdly at someone. So the takeaway is, yes, we can platform, whatever that term is, or uplift or point to or even incentivize, cheer on people who used to be supporters of Trump speaking out against him. But if there is a person in a position of influence who has built a career on ushering in the era we're in demonstrating they are really aroused by authoritarianism. That's the other thing. Tucker was like, I'm a liberal in the sense of believing in liberal democracy and individual rights and stuff. I'm like, you tried to do a piece that had a thesis of maybe the authoritarianism of the Russian government's better than the liberal democracy we have in the United States. That was like a big takeaway that you were trying to get people to have from your trip to Russia. But regardless, we have to make sure that if you have a case like Tucker, the discussion of him that gives him credit for identifying what we all have been identifying for a long time about Trump does not come off as or mislead people into believing Tucker's credible or believing he's trustworthy. He sees a lane right now and he's going down it. He's never demonstrated himself to be someone with consistent principles, and that is not someone you should trust. So can we exploit him for our means or our end goal? I said the wrong thing. Exploit him as a means to our end goal? Yes. But the exploitation of Tucker should stop. I don't know. There? Sounds weird to call for exploiting Tucker, but okay, I think you get it. Blah, blah, black sheep said, sorry to be late to the show. Thanks so much for always being on top of the news. I hope you all are working hard for us. I know you all, are working hard for us. Thank you. Yes, we are. Jeff Dozier, thank you as well. Trash Boat Craft Gaming said, bippity boppity bing bing bong bing bing. Let's see. Here's a spell.
Bing bing bong bong bing bing bing.
Intuition Jin said Trump spell casting. I know. What kind of weirdness is that? This won't be a full segment, but I do want to review it. The DNC chair, Ken Martin, went viral on Pod Save America for trying to very awkwardly explain why he doesn't think the 2024 autopsy report should be released. But he previously said they were doing this report, spending money on this report, and time on it for it to be released, and now he's like, maybe we shouldn't, which makes you go, what's in it? Like, what? Why would you not want to release it? That doesn't make any sense. Come on, if we're going to learn from 2024, we're going to learn from it. Throw out whatever. And John Favreau was confused by this. I appreciated his line of questioning here.
I want to start with the 2024 autopsy, which you call an after-action review. When you won the chairmanship in February of 25, you criticized the DNC's refusal to release their 2016 autopsy as exactly what not to do. You said, quote, was there any utility in doing that? And then promised your 2024 autopsy would be different. Your exact quote was, of course it will be released. Okay. Why did you change your mind on that?
Well, look, I mean, what I said all along, even when I ran for this position, is that we were going to focus on the the things that will help us win the upcoming election, right? Making sure that we learn the right lessons that could help inform our victories. And that's what we've done. We said this when we sent out the press release back in November, saying we weren't going to release the report. We were going to actually keep our focus on those lessons, and we released those lessons. We continue to do that. So it's not completely accurate to say that we didn't release that. Where we're keeping our focus is on the lessons that can actually help us win.
On this show in August.
Why is it that someone like Ken, I remember being kind of excited about him whenever he got the position. And I'm not completely casting him away, but I'm just saying, why is it that they talk one way and then they get an important position in politics and all of a sudden, who's teaching them all to speak the same way? You know, like this weird politician thing where they speak and you're like, I'm hearing words, but then it's being fed in, and instead of an equals meaning, there's equals error. Like, you released the press release saying you weren't going to release it so you could focus on the lessons from the report that you're not releasing, because if you release the report that has the lessons, which you have the lessons that you're focused on, it could distract from the lessons that are being focused on, which are in the report that we're not releasing. What? It sounds far too much like Trump's childcare is childcare, and we need to stay on childcare, and the numbers that we're talking about are bigger numbers than the numbers that are being brought up, as significant as the numbers are around childcare. It's like, what even is leaving your mouth, sir?
You told me this about releasing the review, quote, "We have to do it to give people who invested so much time, energy, and money a sense of what happened and why we lost." Especially why we lost. So what changed between August and December? I understand there are lessons, but those are not the full.
He just needs to pull a full Tucker Carlson and go, no, I don't. I know those words never left my lips. John's like, here's the clip, and he's like, I don't know where that comes from.
Report. Why not release the full report? What's in the report that you wouldn't want to publicize?
Yeah, there's no smoking gun in the report, and I know that's okay. What everyone's so eager to learn. The smoking gun. Guess what, John?
But if there's no smoking gun, why wouldn't you just release it then?
Because we want to keep the focus on the lessons. Because what ends up happening here is that people, of course, want to weaponize the report in a way to look backwards, to point fingers, place blame in a way that actually doesn't keep us focused on the upcoming election. But instead,
Can you just tell us? Can you just tell us what you mean? Is there like a weird anecdote? Like Tim Waltz you found out he was on cocaine the whole time or something fun? You know what I mean? Like, I want to judge that. Hell yeah.
I've become friends with school shooters.
No, and not that. That was just a misspoke. But no, I mean, we loved him. He was awesome. He was happy. He did a great job as governor in many ways. The rallies were awesome. And then it didn't work. Right. So what's the big secret? I mean, everyone knows you should have probably campaigned the most with me. And that didn't happen. I wasn't invited to any rallies to go on stage. Megan the Stallion was, okay. But then when I offered to shake my booty, no one wanted it. Do you know the vote swing that would have happened if you had me up there doing body yaddy 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 yaddy? You would have swept the battlegrounds. Okay? So I get it. No, I get it. That's embarrassing. You don't want that. I know that's in the report. It's been leaked to me that they should have had me on stage more. I get it. But like, I'm giving you permission to release it. And I remember one of the things that a source I have told me was in the report was about that, right? And they're like, if Luke got a BBL and then they brought Luke on stage, that could have helped. And like, they didn't like that I was opposed to that, and that caused some friction. But I say you just release it. Let's just be transparent, okay? Let's just be as transparent as we can. That's what I'm calling for.
Navel gazing of focusing backwards actually takes us backwards. We're 189 days from this election, John. What we don't need to be focused on is actually relitigating 2024. What we need to do is learn the lessons of 24 and the years preceding that.
How do you learn a lesson without relitigating? That's my question. Just release. I feel like there must be something embarrassing. Not embarrassing, but just it will spark that conversation again. Like probably they did some polling or talked to focus groups and people brought up the Biden age stuff. And like then we have to have, if they release it, then Fox News does another news cycle about how the Kamala Harris aides were already concerned before she became the nominee about Biden's cognition, whatever. And then they're like, oh, cover up. Blech. So I get it. It would become a right-wing news cycle. Oh, even Democrats realize that when Kamala Harris said on The View, there was no difference policy-wise that she would have done differently between Biden. Like that hurt her polling or whatever. But that news cycle will subside. Let it happen. Let people feel transparent. Because, and this is the big takeaway, this is why this is really important, is there's been issues of Democratic voters trusting the DNC. The 2016 election caused a lot of people to go, did Bernie get shafted? What the hell happened there? And then the 2020 election, this one I don't get why people are so mad, but like all of those Democrats suddenly united around Biden, which they had the right to do, but people saw that as sussy, fussy, wussy, but-ussy. And so then that caused a lack of trust. 2024, it felt like, oh, they should have had a more open primary, quote unquote. There were some issues with that line of reasoning too. But yeah, it's felt opaque, the process with the DNC. It's felt like they've put their finger on the scale in the past. And so here, one of the first ways you could show that you're going to be a leader of the people, of the Democratic voters, and try to engender trust among Democratic voters would be to be transparent. And whatever comes out, comes out. All right?
That can help us win this upcoming election. I get why people are obsessed with it, because there's various groups and organizations and people who think there's some sort of smoking gun in there. Guess what, John? In the third closest presidential election in the last 100 years, everything mattered. There's nothing that didn't impact that election.
Why did you spend the money going to 50 states, doing all these interviews, doing all this stuff, and doing this report in the first place, if you weren't going to release the full results of it? Like, why? Well, I don't get why just you and some of the senior DNC people get to see it, but not most of the DNC members who are, state party chairs. I mean, more than a dozen DNC members told NBC just the other week they want it released, including Congresswoman Delia Ramirez and North Carolina Democratic Party Chair Anderson Clayton. And Anderson said, quote, genuinely, what did you all find that we did not?
So here's another part. In the report, there's specific quotes from a lot of different people in swing states that are like negative about Kamala Harris or about Tim Walz or about something with Biden. That will then later be brought up. Kamala Harris is running in 2024. Right? That will be a news cycle, as I said before. But sometimes you just bear through it. Gains, I learned this my many years going and pumping iron. Gains take pain. Okay? And so if beast mode. If you're going to hashtag beast mode. If you're going to get electoral gains, you have to take analytical pains. Maybe you could put it that way. Someone said Luke Beasley for President Clint Czar. Thank you so much. That's very kind. I think that I make too many sexual innuendos in my normal cadence of speaking. Did you see how the show started today? For a presidential campaign, but I did make the promise that if Trump runs for a third term, which would be unconstitutional, then I would run for president, which would be unconstitutional because I'm too young, right? I think you have to be 35 to be president. I'm 23. But if Trump can go for an unconstitutional third term, which, by the way, ageism. No, I'm serious. Ageism. The fact that there is an age limit on the lower end, but not the higher end. Why do you have to be 35? I'd be a better president than Trump. Anyone in this room would be. Okay, it's not about me. It's about you. And so I find that irritating. So you can go and die for the country at 18, but you can't be president. Square that circle. But yes, I will definitely do it if Trump does it. So we'll just have to see. Dr. Nils Rasmussen said autopsy equals voters don't want to support the Israel. Did this get cut off or is that at the end of the sentence? The Israel. Yeah, whatever. If the impact of Gaza was a part of this report that they feel awkward about releasing, release it. If it's about the likability of the candidates, if it's about the economic, like whatever the thing is that they're worried about, we just want to see it so we can learn properly from it. I guess that was a full segment. I don't know how we would frame that in terms of, oh no, here we go. Here we go. You know, it's interesting. Every single time any random LGBTQ person does something terrible, a bunch of right-wing accounts that I follow posts it, gets millions of views, tons of engagement, being like, see, this is why gay people shouldn't be able to adopt kids. If a gay person abused a child, terrible. That person should be fully held accountable, obviously. But then to extrapolate that means that every person with the same sexuality or gender identity should be punished for it is bizarre now. And then it's interesting because those same accounts that make sure you know anytime anyone who's any of those letters did something bad, they never seem to have the same interest in when literally some of their colleagues in the MAGA media space or their fellow stormtroopers into the Capitol are sex criminals, or when their president's a sex criminal. But anyways, a Polk County Sheriff's Office operation. I'm going to show you this Polk County, Florida sheriff putting up a photo of Trump with this MAGA influencer who's now been arrested. This operation focused around prostitution-related offensive, netted 266 arrests, including a self-described MAGA influencer. And I think it was also described as a trafficking sting, right? 19 additional suspects were arrested for crimes related to child sexual exploitation. In a news conference, you had the sheriff speaking to this. We'll take that down for a second. I'll show you the sheriff announcing that this MAGA influencer, Craig Long, who has been photographed with Trump, is under arrest in this large sting. Now, I just want to have you ponder this while you watch this sheriff. First of all, he nails some of the delivery here. I wish his staff had worked a little bit more with him on how to speak about being an influencer, because he sounds a little out of touch there. But he's going to speak to Craig Long being an influencer. He's like, I'll give you some content. It's like, okay, all right, good. So, and then he says he has 500 followers. I think it means 500,000. But okay, we'll see. So, but let me just ask you this question: how many sex criminals is it normal to be photographed with? Okay, how many sex criminals is it normal to be your spiritual advisors, for example, or you, for example? How many times do you have to look in the mirror and see a sex criminal for you to be one? One time.
Then there's Craig Long we arrested. He's 41. Some of you may recognize him. He's an influencer. He also owns Craig Long Fitness in Tampa. He was seeking the services of a prostitute. Did I tell you that he's married? That he's got 125 followers on Instagram, 568 followers on TikTok.
So he means 1,000 followers, 520,000 followers, yeah.
Well, I'm going to give him some content for his social media today.
Okay.
He was a previous felon who straightened up, really what we want to see in life. Now he's an influencer. You know, he moves in big circles, even with the president.
Whoa.
This is a photograph with the president and his son not long ago. Now, we like to see people who make mistakes early in life, and he had a long history straighten up. We like the fact that he likes the cops. Heck, he liked them so much, he got caught up in a sting and got to be up and real close with the cops. We asked what his attitude was. They said, oh, he had a great attitude. He appreciates law enforcement. Well, there you go. Got arrested in a human trafficking sting. Influenced that for a while.
So in a human trafficking sting, very serious, and I've never seen a sheriff deliver a press conference like that before. Influenced that for a while. Don't know what that means, but I'm loving your energy, dude. Okay? He has 500 followers because he's thinking like 500 people follow him. No. 500 is not a lot on social media. 500,000 probably. Influence. It reminds me of that Trump supporter who we had a rally and he made no sense. And then he went, smoke that over in your pipe. And I was like, what does that mean? So yeah, the photo that he showed was this one. Look at this. Look at this. And now I get that Trump's photographed with a lot of people, but let's just reflect a little bit. I think Kayla's going to help me with this on the MAGA sex crime problem. Okay, I'm not saying that implicates everyone who's, of course not, but I'm just saying too many of your leaders, your influencers, your January 6ers who get Trump's pardons, have a sex crime problem. Let's see. Kayla, remind us.
Yeah, it's a lot. So as of December 2025, at least 33 J6 insurrectionists that have been pardoned have been rearrested, which, isn't shocking. They're criminals. 4 have been found guilty of, oh my God. No, it's 6 now. Jesus. 6 have been charged with child sex crimes. 5 were charged with illegal possession of weapons. 5 were arrested for DUI. And 2 of those DUIs resulted in a fatality. So, if they were still locked up in jail, those people would still be alive. And 2 of them have been charged with rape. And that's just since December 2025. This year, even more, David Daniel got arrested for having 10,000 child sex images on his computer, which is really, these are going to be really, really rough sentences, I'm saying, by the way. So, and he tried to plead innocent because they only found the images in relation to looking in his house because of his January 6th association. You do not get pardoned for that. So at least there's that. Daniel Toki is even worse. They found 100,000 images of child sex abuse on his computer. January 6th writer, pardoned. And also he had videos of murder and animal abuse as well. Just really, really, really good people on both sides, obviously. Andrew Paul Johnson, he, again, charged with sex crimes. Weird one. He promised if his victim was quiet that he would give her money from the January 6th settlement that Donald Trump promised. That was never promised. Don't know where he got that from. Not saying these are the smartest people. And then, like Luke alluded to, Trump's own spiritual advisor arrested. And guess what? As of April 1st, is now free again. He sexually abused a member of his congregation, and he only served 6 months in jail for that. So, yeah, it's really not great. And you can stop me whenever I want. There's so many more.
That was Robert Morris, right?
Yeah, Robert Morris. We got Scott Sokek, who said that he was voting for Trump to throw pedophiles in jail. So I guess, hey, mission accomplished because he was a pedophile and he got thrown in jail. We also have former North Dakota state legislator who served for 45 years, Republican. He was going to Prague for many, many years to exploit children. And he was trying to get his his cohorts to join him. So it was an open secret around there for over 45 years that he was doing this. And he just got arrested like last month, and he's going to be serving 10 years, which does not feel long enough, but he is 81. Another MAGA supporter, Sean Green, found with 10,000. I don't know why it's 10,000, but it seems to be 10,000 images of child abuse on his computer.
Okay.
See, I told you.
I think we got it.
There's
Wow,
4 more
Kayla.
pages in this document. It's crazy.
Thank you for preparing that. That's brutal. So I bring that up for a couple of reasons. Not to say if you're MAGA, no. But that pardoning a bunch of people who were willing to storm the Capitol to stop an election from being certified is probably not the best option, especially when you're the tough on crime people and you're constantly saying people aren't kept in prison long enough. And then you release, as Kayla said, a bunch of criminals out to wander around. Well, then those criminals will end up doing more criminal things, even by your own logic. And then one of them, like Kayla said, this is disturbing, was saying that Trump was going to pay him for being wronged by being prosecuted for his January 6th crimes. And so then was saying he would pay off his victim, his child victim, with the money Trump was going to give him. Now, Trump had never agreed to that, but that was the level of sympathy this guy believed he had from the Trump administration, which he clearly had a lot because he got pardoned. And then, obviously, in this case, it was a MAGA influencer. But truly disturbing stuff. And from the accounts, I never see these stories. From the same accounts that find random gay people and say, see, this is why all gay people are disgusting perverts, because there's an individual story of a gay person doing a horrible abuse. They never post stuff like this. It's like way back, one of my earlier interviews with a Trump supporter, I was like, do you think that gay people should be able to get married? And he said, no. And I said, why? And he said, because marriage is for procreation. So I was like, okay, do you think infertile couples then shouldn't be allowed to get married? He's like, no, they should still get married. And I was like, okay, why then? Because you just said it was for procreation. He's like, well, because I forget what he said then. And then I was like, he said, well, ultimately gay people shouldn't be allowed to have kids because I heard a story of a gay couple abusing their kids. And I was like, do you want me to show you a story of a straight couple abusing their kids? And he was like, blah, 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 blah. So it's bizarre. It's bizarre. Checking in with the audience real quick, then we'll get back to the show. Josh Johnson said, we just sat through Trump. We can handle Luke. We can handle Luke. You can handle this. No, I'm kidding. Soren said, late joke, but was the boing, yoing, yoing, yoing a misspoke? No, it was a reference to Trump putting spells on people, right? Oh, wait, what? Is that what it was referencing? The bing bong?
I think it was in relation to the BBL, sort of the, like, bouncification, maybe.
Oh, I see the boing, yoing. Yeah, it's like, because my booty shake, you know? Blah, blah, black sheep member for 3 months sent a teapot? What does this mean? Is that a different meaning? A little subtle meaning? I don't know. Skeet Sear said we must take back our society. The tangents are strong, but we can resist and win. Exactly. Thank you. A message of hope. Dark Sunray member for 23 months said, happy Monday. 1 more month till 2 years membership. Love you guys. Also, Indiana's primary is tomorrow, May 5th. Mailed mine in 2 weeks ago. Excellent. And 2 years is amazing. And then Skeet Sayre said, nothing new here. The Marquis in the French Revolution was also guilty of this. Pan-Euro society is the worst thing that has happened to humans. Oh my goodness. Don't even know exactly what that is asserting. But there we go. Thank you for the super chat. Let's get into this now. I don't know if this will be something you all find fascinating, but I did. We covered an interview that Ivanka Trump did with the Diary of a CEO guy. And as always with these Ivanka Trump interviews, my irritation with it was that she is not just a random child of a celebrity. She's not just a random mom who should talk about how she balances work-life balance, which is what a lot of the interview talked about or whatever. This is someone who directly worked for the Trump administration the first term and continued to exploit the connections and the power of her father for the sake of her and her husband's enrichment. So then these interviews she'll sit down for will be like, how'd you deal with the media attention? Oh my gosh, and you're able to find time to go on evening walks? Wow. It's like, is that really the most important thing? Could you ask her about the deal that enriched her family that was obviously corrupt? No? Well, one part that I didn't expect people to take issue with, but you had Ryan Holiday, who's a stoicism advocate, was her referencing stoicism. Let's just remind ourselves for a second. Stoicism is an ancient Greek philosophy designed for resilience, virtue, and wisdom, focusing on controlling one's mind and judgments rather than external events. It teaches that happiness comes from virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, temperance, and accepting fate, aiming to create calm, rational, and ultimately better people. So you'll see in this clip that Ryan Holiday, again a stoicism guy, is responding to the clip from her Diary of a CEO interview where she talks about stoicism, and then he says, BS, Ivanka.
Stoicism, I think, like Marcus Aurelius is...
Stoicism, I think Marcus Aurelius... I'm whispering for some reason.
Stoicism, I think, like Marcus Aurelius' meditations, is so informative on so many levels. I mean, here you have somebody who was literally an emperor, and he's writing this journal in a tent in a battlefield. So his perspective is amazing. And he once wrote that the soul becomes dyed the color of its thoughts. And I think about that all the time. The cost to me of living in a way that's inconsistent and not aligned with what feels right, what models the right thing for my children, what feels inherently true to me, it's too expensive.
I mean, look, here's the thing. She's totally right. That's exactly what Marcus Aurelius said. That's exactly what Stoicism is about. She's just not living or acting in accordance with it in any way. If you did, you'd have an intervention with your dad, who's life would be dyed with his horrible, negative, mean, bullying thoughts all the time.
Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Don't talk.
Okay, we don't need the mean Trump compilation. We do that every day. That's this whole show, is showing you mean clips of him.
I'll give you another great Marcus Aurelius quote, Ivanka. He says, "Waste no more time talking about what a good person is like. Just fucking be one." Look, this is just obviously incredibly cringe.
That he said that's a Marcus Aurelius quote. Just fucking be a good person. I didn't remember him speaking like that. No kidding. But the great philosopher said, just be a good person, damn it. No, that's actually a really important takeaway. I'm sick of these folks, the Ivankas of the world, and others. I don't know why I just thought of Michael Knowles. But of like using performative intellectualism and then kind of like philosophy vibes to make seem more rational their self-serving life. When they're just saying mumbo jumbo, flowery Marcus Aurelius, this, that, and the other thing. And in reality, we know there's not some deep philosophical reasoning to why Michael Knowles just the MAGA talking points every single time, right? There's no like, oh, well, I came to the conclusion when I read an ancient Greek philosopher that you're just doing it because that's the team that you're on and you're boring. Or Ivanka, why don't you talk less? I just started thinking that song. Smile more, don't let them run. No, why don't you talk less about what, oh, you're doing so good and just be good, or nudge your dad to be good. That's, ready? That's my philosophy. I say no to bad people, yes to good people. How do you define which person's good or bad? It's a little something called my gut, girl. You ever heard of it? And so, yeah, maybe it's Big G guiding my gut. But maybe obviously crafting a life that serves in corrupt ways you and your family is pretty obviously not based on some profound philosophical principle.
Just fucking be one. Look, this is just obviously incredibly cringe, the sort of performative philosophy, the popularity of Stoicism with people who have no idea that this is a philosophy built around an ethical core, which justice is the true north of the philosophy. I'll tell you what Stoicism is not. Stoicism is not a way for you not to have to care about the consequences of the things that are happening around you. It's not a way to turn inward and turn away from other people, from what's happening in the world, from not having to care. It's not.
Do you think that's what she was doing? Why she was bringing that up, you think? Kayla, you said you have a problem. I haven't thought much about Stoicism, to be frank with you. I remember in my philosophy classes growing up, I would think about it, but then this is what I did. Delete. Okay, I think you don't understand while I was going to college how much political information I was trying to absorb, like day-to-day political knowledge. And so a lot of the stuff I was learning about like math or philosophy, delete, Control-Alt, delete. So what you have a problem with stuff? Because it did seem like maybe in her mind, she's like, I'm just focusing on Operation Me. It's like, hey, your dad's burning down the whole world. And she's like, yeah, but Marcus Aurelius taught me to focus on a little project I call Ivanka.
Yeah, I was telling you before the show, I have a problem with Stoicism, mostly because of the bastardization in the modern times that she's doing, where people are like, oh, no, you focus on yourself, you focus on the people around you, and that's how you make things better, but at the expense of everyone else. And it also has turned into the thing online that we see a lot, where people are like, oh, you're using an emotional argument, therefore your argument is invalid, which is not how arguments and debate works. But they've taken what is supposed to be something rational and made it completely irrational by taking all emotion out of everything, by taking all other people out of everything, and making everything as self-centered as possible, to the point where bringing up like facts about things that don't center them, they see as irrelevant or maybe not even true.
And I'm sure some people who are more passionate about this particular framework will be like, no, Kayla, that's not true. But I think you're just speaking to maybe some of the Ivankas of the world who exploit what can sound like a strong moral foundation that's really just a convenient explanation for their behavior.
Oh, I'm just going to think nice thoughts so I can have a nice life. I'm not going to let critics or criticism penetrate, because then I'd have to, actually make some changes or take some accountability or stare in the face the reality of what I have been complicit in, what I am responsible for. Ivanka Trump quoting Marcus Aurelius, that's as eye-rolly as you can get. The only similarity you have with the Aurelius family is that you're a Commodus, and so are your shitty brothers. Look, nobody loves seeing people talk about Marcus Aurelius and Stoicism more than me. This is what gets me out of bed in the morning. My life's work is getting people to pick up meditation. So that's awesome. I love to see it. Also, this is as cringe as it possibly gets.
Okay, yeah, because he goes on to say, because it's not real. I had that same vibe. A lot of her comes off like, if I watch a full interview, there's little moments where I go, oh my gosh, she's like a normal person. You know that feeling? Even me, caught up in a world of people who pretend to be normal people who aren't. Still, I'll be listening like, oh my gosh, she's like me. She tries to meditate sometimes, Do you journal too? Do you also worry that Jared will find your journal and see the things you said about him? And then I go, wait a minute. No, you know what? If my father, who is awesome, father of the century, but if for some reason he all of a sudden started painting his face orange and became the president and did all the things Trump is doing, I love him and I believe in the loyalty to family. And I also would be nonstop behind the scenes stop it. Otherwise, I'll go public and say, you baddie. You baddie daddy. And I would say that. And I would really fight him, at least behind the scenes, which I've never heard even one single leak that Ivanka has. And yeah, that's your obligation. Just like how you get to benefit from the successes of your family often if they're sharing and caring. And the status of your family, just like how you have a loyalty to them, you also have an obligation to them. To not let them be a dick. As Marcus Aurelius said. Just to quote him. I think my brother quoted the old Marcus a lot in his best man speech to my brother. And I got up there and was like, so I don't have any of those quotes. But let me tell you a story about my brother peeing in the hallway when he was sleeping. And he thought it was the toilet. And then I gave one quote, and it was me. I quoted myself. It was a good time. The crowd said, ha, 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 ha. You're so funny. They said that. Real true story. Okay. Blah, blah, Black Sheep said the teapot was me listening to all the tea you were spilling. Oh, I see. Skeet Sear said asserting the Americans had over... Okay, I'm not getting into this. I want to understand okay, fine, I'll read it. The Americans had over 200 million population before Euro contact, and within a generation, 95% were gone. Today, Americans look down on people that are south of them when Texas was made, when slavery was done, led to war with Mexico. I'm not arguing with you. You're talking about the, genociding of Native Americans, and then now people looking down upon people south of the United States. I just didn't know from the succinct post you sent in exactly what the general point was, but you clarified, and I appreciate the comment. Where did I... Do not trust the narrative they told us the South Americans did human sacrifice when they traded. You see what I mean? Some of that I would check, even what your point, but feel free to keep sending them. We need to do monthly town halls with all the left-wing influencers and get members of Congress to participate. Decency matters. Yeah, I would even love to do more Q&As here. We do kind of like that through comments, but it'd be fun to actually have y'all hop on and ask questions. Sam said, nice job, Kayla, on the research on those pardoned insurrectionists. Mind-blowing. If they were still in the prison, so many crimes could have been prevented. Seriously. And then the Turtles Rocks said, I trust my gay homie more than any MAGA person. Hey. So true. Okay? So true. The only group I wouldn't trust in the LGBTQ community is gay MAGA. Oh. You know what I'm saying? Because those are sussy bussies. I remember when I was still single on apps, and I would be so confused, I would just pick their brains. They'd be like, hey, sexy thing. And I'd be like, what's up? And they'd be like, I've seen you on the YouTube. And I'd be like, okay, well, you like it? And they're like, no, I'm a big Trump supporter. And man, I would love to be really angry and then have sex. And I was like, no, thank you. But then I'd ask them, like, explain that to me. Explain that journey for you. And they would. And then they would say, sometimes I actually went to dinner a couple times with a gay MAGA. And I asked them. It was like an interesting investigation. And they'd be like, so we're going home after this? And I was like, no, sorry. I have a very strict liberalism arouses me policy. Okay? It's interesting. You don't even have to tell me. I can feel your politics under the trousers. Okay? I can feel it physically without you even telling me. It's a vibe thing. And you say, oh, so you want to date someone who's MAGA? It's not about dehumanizing. They can date other people. I hope they fall in love. But yeah, that's a huge turnoff for me. Can you imagine me? I'm like going to work, gonna go rail against the person that you love. Like, I don't know, meaning argue against the person you love. It'd feel weird. It'd just feel weird. Did I get all the things? Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about this now. How do I even introduce this segment? Don Jr. Okay. I'm going to tell you a little update on Don Jr.'s wedding that I know you need. You're like, when is it happening? I'm so excited. Bettina Anderson, they're in love story. Romeo and Juliet, but like with a happy ending. And let me get to that in a second because it relates to his dad, Iran war, etc. But first, here is Don Jr. saying, sleep over at my dad's house. It never isn't surreal. It never isn't surreal, brother. Just say it's always surreal to be able to witness this incredible slice of Americana. Just an absolute honor. And I know that he knew he was being filmed because he tried to do a very stiff pat on the back of his dad as if they have any relationship. Hey. And then he's walking, just not like a human walks. He is such a weird, Don Jr. is such a strange guy. So then the Daily Beast always has the most iconic titles. They said Trump flashes cankles after surprise medical visit. Flashing them as if it's like, hey, check it out, my kanks. What?
I've never seen them from that angle.
You want to see it again? Check it out.
I've never seen them from that angle. That was shocking
flash
to
it
me.
Again. Yeah,
that looks like it hurts. Dang.
Yeah. Hey, listen. But Trump's actions are making Don Jr. cancel the wedding temporarily, postpone it. Trump's making him do that. Literally, look, Don Jr. blames dad as he postpones wedding to the latest fiance. It's so, you're doing them dirty, Daily Beast. So this is his new fiance. I don't know why he's staring like that, but her name is Bettina Anderson. She's described as a socialite, which I never know what people mean when they say that, like professionally socialite. Okay. And they were going to get married pretty soon, but because of the Iran war, they feel like it would be a bad time. Is that crazy? So even though they come out and say, everything's going great, golden age, this is perfect, we're winning, victory, they think it would be a bad look to be having a party when they know they're actually not in victory formation. And that's in the formation. Donald Trump Jr. and socialite Bettina Anderson. See, socialite, what does that mean? What does that mean? How do you get this job? Where do I apply? Socialite. Bettina Anderson's wedding will take place only after the war in Iran has ended. The couple's nuptials, insiders told the Daily Mail, wouldn't align with the war in the Middle East, which Trump Jr.'s father began 2 months ago. There is currently a ceasefire but no peace agreement. 13 service members have been killed, 381 wounded, 1,700 Iranian civilians, and 1,200 soldiers have been killed. They will have a celebration at the due time at the White House, an inner circle source told the publication, but they're waiting for the right moment because of what's happening in the world. They want to wait until that settles. When asked if that was about the Iran war specifically, they said, that's what I believe is happening. They're waiting, and so they may have a very, very intimate, extremely intimate celebration at the White House, just family members, but still when it's appropriate, and at the moment it's not appropriate if everything sorts itself out and it's a good time to do it, but not right now. These are very strange grammatical statements, but is that crazy? I mean, it's like, oh, everything's celebratory, America, we're crushing it. But really, they know how bad things are, where they don't think it would be a good look for a beautiful love story to play out at the White House. What are you laughing about?
It's kind of like gay marriage being made legal when people were like, babe, we can't get married till everyone gets married. It's just not fair.
How is it like that? No. I'm saying, how is this like that?
Because he's like, babe, the war in Iran, we can't do it right now. It wouldn't be fair.
You think he's blaming his dad to stall?
I don't want to distract from what my dad's doing over there, and our wedding would just be too big of a news story.
It's like, that's so good. It's just like if we do our wedding, no one's going to talk about the 250th anniversary of America. They'll just be too focused on the love story of Don and Bettina. But I do want to warn Bettina that this is how Don Jr. previously spoke about his last fiance of 5 years or 6 years. So just be careful, Bettina, if he says, sorry, I can't do it because of the war. Like, why? That he made Kimberly Guilfoyle wait forever. Like, they were engaged for years, and then ultimately it was cut off. And while they were still engaged, this is how he spoke about her.
But Kimberly for press secretary, perfect. You know what? That'd be great. She can do like 6 days a week in Washington, D.C. I get peace and quiet. Everyone wins. Don't tell her I said that. That would be trouble. Cash for AG, Kim for press secretary. Yeah, listen, I think Kim for press secretary is a great idea. Okay, I think, she moves up to D.C., I get like 4 years of peace and quiet. Like I said, everyone wins. Everyone wins. But Kimberly is not too wishy-washy. Yeah, that's if there's one thing Kimberly is not, it's that. So Don Jr. sleeping on the couch tonight, fact check, true. But hey, listen, sometimes you sleep on the couch and it's just worth it because it's just worth it. So yeah, if Kim is watching, I'm probably in trouble. If you guys know her, you're probably texting her right now. Hopefully she's not watching. Kim has a great voice. Yeah, Kim's an animal. Like she'd be good at that. She's, like I said, I think she'd do a great job at the job. I get peace and quiet. Everyone wins. You think she's tough? You think I don't have to put up with that shit? I do. That doesn't just turn off. When you're not on a show or you're not on TV. Kim is a gem. Look at you guys kissing ass. Now you're trying to make me look bad. We can make Kim AG. She's a lawyer. She's an undefeated prosecutor. Again, and I still win because she's in D.C.
Oh my gosh. Every time we play that a lot of times, but it's always worth it. Because sometimes it's just worth it. It's just worth it because it's worth it. She's an animal. Wow. I love how people say, will Don Jr. become president one day? Listen. Guys, listen. Trump is a mess. Donald Trump Sr. is a mess. I understand that. But he does have charisma in some weird way to people. Donald Trump Jr. does not. Can you imagine him up at a mic and I'm thinking Bettina's gonna go to somewhere else, and so then I'll get peace and quiet. Everyone wins. Everyone wins. So
I don't snort cocaine.
Sweating and weird. So maybe they feel like it would be bad to have a big expensive wedding while gas prices are doing this. David Packman, friend of the show, wrote, was this what Trump promised during the campaign? I'm struggling to remember. Look at that. Skyrocketing. Unbelievable. This is all the way from 2024 through 2026, and it's bing because of Trump's decision here. Meanwhile, the White House is pretending like everything's going well, saying that Trump has all the cards in relation to Iran. But of course, he's holding cards from the game Uno. And in the game Uno, if you have all the cards, you are losing. Okay? The object of the game in Uno is to have none of the cards. How did they do that? I know it's because he has all wild cards, but if you say I have all the cards in a game where you're trying to get rid of the cards, it seems a little bit strange there. And while the truth of this is a disaster, you still have the Bennies of the world who increasingly...
What's up, guys? Benny!
...is doing his show from a dark lair for some reason. He is pretending like everyone loves the war.
A little better than the bad guys, and that's exactly what President Trump is doing right now with Iran. And it's shaken the world. President Trump has just made a massive announcement that is already rocketing the oil markets. And, well, it seems like President Trump is winning here. He has won already with the American people. Whether you like it or not, the only thing that matters to me, frankly, is winning. And it's why we've often cautioned that the only thing that wins elections in this country are the economics of our country, what the voters experience, gas prices, grocery prices, home prices. You just got to lock in and focus in on this kind of stuff. And that's why adventurism abroad for any administration, whether it's FDR or whether it's Vietnam War, whatever it happens to be, it tends to be unpopular when it begins to affect Americans economically. But these numbers are remarkable. Americans say that President Trump has won the war with Iran. Look at this. 74% of America thinks the U.S. is winning the war. That includes 60% of Democrats, so an absolute majority of Democrats, and 91% of Republicans, 70% of independents. These are wild numbers. Almost unbelievable numbers.
I don't know I don't know how the people watching him don't feel so patronized by him. These are almost unbelievable numbers, and it really makes you wonder how. I don't know. I don't want to keep doing him. I feel disgusting imitating him. I feel less weird imitating Robert F. Kennedy Jr. than Benny Johnson. Okay, but he's showing a poll of people saying, I guess he's saying this is a poll, so okay, I'll believe it, and acting like this means America supports the war. Right, I'm going to show you a poll where they actually ask, do you think this is a success or do you support the war? Whereas he's showing people having to be asked, do you think the U.S. or Iran is winning the war? Well, other than people like us who really have gotten in the weeds and you would say, I still wouldn't say Iran is winning the war. So I guess if you want to ask me who do I think is winning it, I would always be like, America! Woo! Do 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 do. Right?
God bless America.
I would say America, even if I know this is a disaster. Okay.
But this is from a left-wing pollster that certainly wouldn't skew anything for Trump. The majority of U.S. thinks America is winning the war with Iran.
Yeah. That's so dumb. You're digging up polls where they ask a question, who's winning the war? And as an American, you have to pick U.S. or Iran. It doesn't say, I don't see a neither option. Who's going to pick Iran? Like, you would feel bad picking against your own country, even if you think this whole thing was a disaster. And he's like, we've never seen numbers like this. Really? Go find a poll in a different war and see what percentage of Americans picked the other country. Okay, so you want to see a more relevant poll, Benny? Because these are really unbelievable numbers here. You know, often you have to focus on the things that matter to Americans, and this is it. Poll: Trump's Iran war is now as unpopular as Vietnam and Iraq. let's get into this, and then we'll look at 50 different people's Twitter takes, and I'll read them all verbatim without giving any take. That's always what he does. Support for President Donald Trump's war with Iran has dipped into the same levels as unpopular wars like Vietnam and Iraq. Unbelievable numbers. All new. A survey released by the ABC Washington Post Ipsos shows support for the ongoing conflict in Iran is continuing to fall, with 6 in 10 Americans calling the military action a mistake, and just 2 in 10 calling the campaign a success. President Donald Trump's war in Iran is as unpopular among Americans as the Iraq War during the year of peak violence in 2006 and the Vietnam War in the early 1970s. So 61% call the war a mistake. But then he finds some poll where you have to pick, will you pick Iran or the United States? Which country do you like better? Oh, more Americans picked the U.S. than Iran, so they must support Trump. Ridiculous. Just shameful, really. And then people have the gall, Kayla, Cole, Jaden, to act like any of us should care that Marco Rubio DJ'd at a wedding. Actually, that's cute. It's cute, okay? I would think this was cute if it was Anthony Blinken or Hillary Clinton, previous secretaries of state. But it's just, I don't know. The right-wing accounts were like, he can do anything. He's not even doing anything. He's just sitting there. Everyone thought this was so adorable. Oh my gosh. Just wait until Tony Dokapil gets his sights on that. We salute you, the ultimate Florida man, as he did with Marco previously. And then I just don't think we can end today's show without you seeing that RFK Jr. was excited about this bird rescue at Dulles Airport, and he's holding it, and it does look like he's about to bite the head off of it. Look at this bird that I found. Beep, 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 beep. Stop making those noises or I'll eat your head off. Beep, 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 beep. I warned you. Yeah, so you thought that was going to take an unexpected turn, and then I just did exactly what you thought I was going to do anyways, which was just reenact it. So it would have been better humor-wise if I thought of it sticks it up his butt or whatever, you know. But we're just going to go with the old-fashioned. And then in response to a post, RFK Jr. posted this. I guess this is him riding on a rhino. So anyways, I don't have anything to say about that, but let's see. What else do we have? Two of my friends, Sam said, 2 of my friends tried to set me up with a guy. We're South African, please note. And he had Trump on his Facebook page. It was a hard no from me. I think it's fine. You want to be with someone that you agree on sort of fundamental principles with. It's not that you can't be friends or ever interact with someone if they have different political views. Obviously not. Your family you should be very patient with. Great. But romantically, like, can you imagine if picture this, ready? You're like, come here. You're kind of getting into it, right? And then they go, oh yeah, and then they go, China, in Trump's voice. Like, it's gonna turn you off. You know what I'm saying? Can you find a pedophile? Yeah, there we go. Right? Like, they're all MAGA. Get ready with that one, okay? You're going this, you're like, oh, I'm so into you, and then they're like,
you're my daddy.
It's gonna be a turnoff. It just is, in Trump's voice.
I love Tesla.
Skeet Sarah said, Trump kids are certifiably insane. They're all insane. Make a t-shirt with "You have no cards." Benny, the undercover agent in all ways. No one decent supports this foolish war. And then Intuition Jen said, America. But it's spelled Erica. America. Erica Kirk. Sort of vibe. So there's that. That's today's show. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. I appreciate you greatly. Podcast listeners, I mean it. Please do leave a rating and review. That is so greatly appreciated. Unless you're going to give a rating that's below 5 stars. Then don't. Because I saw some people, I looked at our rating and it wasn't 100%. or not 100%. It wasn't 5 out of 5 stars. Let me pull this up. Spotify is a great place if you want to watch Luke Beasley's show. 4.7 stars. Okay, so not 5 stars. So that means somebody said this is below 5 stars, and I just find that hurtful. Okay, not because I think it's perfect, but because what you doing that with the stars for? This isn't an actual rating system. It's just for you to be nice. That's what this is for. What, I'm going to see 4.7 and then figure out how I can get that next 0.3 better? No. Makes me angry. It's what it makes me. It's like when I see on our YouTube videos, it'll be like 99.3% like ratio. So like right now, you're clicking the like button, right? Sometimes it'll drop down like 95%, but usually it's in between 97% and 99.9% like ratio, okay? So if thousands of likes are on a video, some percentage, 0.3%, or sometimes 1%, 1%. Okay? 1,000 likes, it's 100 people. 10%, 100, 10 people. That's like 10%, 2%, 3%. Oh no. You remember the thing about the thing? That's 10 people. 1%. 10 per 100, 1,000. Yeah. Okay. They're clicking the dislike button. What the hell? Right now, some of you watching will have clicked the. What? I don't know what that means. If there's a comment, leave a comment. What's you disliking for? Now, in the YouTube biz, having like a 99%, getting all disoriented now. 99% like ratio is very good. That means 99% of the people like it. But who's the people? The video will drop and like immediately it'll get some dislikes. Who are these people? Get out! If you have a specific critique, comment it. But I don't know what a dislike means. That doesn't give me any information. Same thing with a 1 star doesn't give me any information. Give me 5 stars in the review and say, I gave you 5 stars, but I'm actually mad at you. Then I promise I'll maybe look at it. Goodbye. Much love.